Hello and welcome back to Cosmo Muse Tarot and to a new reading. So this week we are going to be looking at the creative essence of your soul. So initially we are going to be picking one of these beautiful cards from the Major Arcana. It's from a Spanish artist that made this at a Kickstarter, and I'm just thrilled that I got a copy of this because I don't think that it's out there anymore. It was just this little Kickstarter, and it's these beautiful, only the Major Arcana cards, and I thought they'd be just a really fun one to break out and use for the first time for spring and for something creative being made from an artist. And I will put, just so if you want to check out this person's artwork, even if the tarot deck isn't available, I'll put his name in the descriptions. So yeah, we're going to pick a Major Arcana card that will sort of symbolize the archetype that your creative essence is flowing through, and then that way the other cards picked around your creative nature, I'll have a little bit more information of how maybe that's channeled by you. And then at the end we're going to do some tarot cards just to get any extra information from spirit and advice about currently how should this certain creative essence you have be used. Is there anything stuck? Is there anything bubbling? Just whatever comes up through the cards, we'll let them sort of free flow speak whatever needs to come up. So probably very different messages for each pile. So pile 1 is this first one. It is a flower agate is above it, in case you like picking by stones. And then pile 2, we've got the raw citrine. Pile 3, we've got some beautiful sparkly pyrite. And then an orange, I'm not exactly sure. I've had this for like 10 years, way before I got into stones, and I probably should look up what it is. If anyone knows, put it in the descriptions. Yeah, just a beautiful orange, kind of quartzy looking stone. All right, so I'm going to direct you through a breath, as I like doing for picking the piles, to just sort of connect you into your inspiration, into something higher. So take a deep breath in, hold it at the top, close your eyes, focus into your third eye or the center between your brows, and then do a big exhale out loud with an ah. And that opens your crown chakra, inviting some inspiration and guidance in. If you need to take a couple more of those, feel free to do so. And if you need some more time meditating on the cards, feeling into which pile or piles are drawing you in, you can pause here. Otherwise, head on down to your timestamp in the descriptions and jump to your reading. I will start with pile 1. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading. If this is you guys, you picked the flower agate, and the revealed card matched with it from the Major Arcana of the Tarot is the Empress. So in this reading, looking at what your soul's creative essence is, this Major Arcana card to me is indicating the sort of archetype you channel or use to put your creativity into the world. So the channel by which your creativity is flowing outward, outputting. So for you guys, you have the Empress card, which to me indicates you just love to be surrounded by beauty. You see the fertility in everything. You really know how to nurture and grow things and cultivate and really feel sort of an embodied connection to life and maybe even a love of the body. So beyond what we see in the other cards to come, it's possible that you could be a dancer or someone who expresses yourself very physically, affectionately, or it could be or what I've already said and what's to come, somebody who knows how to mold life, see the avenues and areas in which it's like you have a sixth sense about what things are about to prosper, and being sort of very good with timing in terms of aligning and connecting to things that are about to blossom and feel fruitful and really come into their full loveliness. So someone who really is connected to your creativity, at least, is very connected to something fertile and deep and fruitful and affectionate and maybe even flirtatious. Okay, so I have two sort of piles that are going to show two different veins of creativity sprouting out of this, and then an animal spirit card that will also indicate sort of ways in which this is all manifesting. Another sort of secondary archetype that comes out of you when you are at the height of really utilizing and connecting with and allowing your creativity to flow. Okay, so let's look at the first vein of your creative essence, of your soul. That's your deepest connection to creativity and its expression. So we've got the poet, Citrine, and sodium. And these, just so you're not confused, these are called the Materia Prima. It's the Materia Prima deck from Usi, and it is the chemical, the periodic table of chemicals kind of put into archetype poetic form. So that's what these are, if you're a little confused by why sodium is showing up. Okay, so really right off the bat with the poet, I'm seeing just like a really deep connection to language and being able to use language, through the Empress as something that expresses the beauty of life, the fertility of life, really connected to, like, you may use your words in a flowery, affectionate way, or use your words directed toward the beauty you see in the world, highlighting it, using language to illuminate and bring sort of a deeper eye into even everyday things that we may overlook, that you are able to notice as beautiful and illuminate as beautiful and bring awareness to. But overall, just this really deep connection to language and its ability to beautify life and to illuminate and highlight the beauty of life. And then we've got this embodiment card, so maybe how your body connects to, which, having the Empress in general, I think these the embodiment deck cards probably will speak to you quite deeply. So in connection with the poet, you have the card Citrine, and it says, I am in partnership with the universe, and all things are working together for my good. And I absolutely think that is the sort of lens the Empress sees through is that life is working for her to enjoy, and just seeing how life works in a beautiful way. When I rest in the truth that life is a teacher, I am able to remain calm and untroubled. I allow my body to experience the peace and tranquility that comes with trust. I choose serenity in every storm and confidently let go of what is not in my control. So I love this in connection with the poet. It's sort of like, I always do sense that there's maybe some sadness underlying a poet quality of being able to see to the depths of things, not in a shallow beauty way, but in a way of seeing the light and shadow of everything, and being able to not quite put rose-colored glasses on it, but being able to highlight how sometimes pain or decay or different darker or harder things can be viewed as part of the art of life, and so there's this serene quality coming through you, and I think it is what that is being able to take the light with the shadow, and always able to find some potent expression and articulation around it and create meaning around it. So instead of being very reactory, maybe being able to absorb life with all of its ups and downs and compose something that brings meaning to the beauty and the decay of things, the growth and the loss, all the the polarities of life. You're able to sort of sit with them, digest them, and find something meaningful about them, which is create sort of a serene quality around you, and the way you're expressing your kind of beautification of language around lights and shadows. And then the sodium card in connection here is this ability to fluidly move with life and to sort of hold a certain key in seeing the opportunities in life where others may not. And I think this plugs into that sixth sense that I was tapping into with the Empress of like, really, even if I'm going to give an example that, like, even if you were in a time of recession and everything seemed to be crumbling in the financial foundations of a country, there would be some aspect of you, some sixth sense in you that would be able to see where there is still beauty and still opportunity and pathways for development and growth, and a willingness to take risks and use that sight you have as a key to opening you up to opportunity and being sort of a bold entrepreneur. So there's something about the way that you articulate and see the depths of life and assimilate the highs and lows, the darks and lights, that allows this Empress archetype to move towards growth, whether or not the current trend around them or you is indicating growth. You're always able to see it, and the question is there the bravery? Can you channel the bravery and the trust in your intuition? Because these are sort of deep things that are not, if you were to map it or try to articulate to someone why this path might be good, it may not show on paper that it is. So there's a development, I think, that you're always in relationship with around trusting your instinct and impulse, around things that are hard to see, but that can be deeply felt. But I do think that because you have a way with words, if you were to make a business plan out of poetry, it might inspire people enough to sort of help that path. If you were to make a business plan that was linear in the way it's supposed to, be expected to be presented and done, I don't think that you probably are able to gain the favor you need or feel confident about it. But it's sort of like, make your business plans, because there is with this sodium a bit of an entrepreneurial quality to you, and I think you need to make very poetic business plans, both to inspire trust in yourself and to really connect to paths you're seeing, paths of growth, and ultimately maybe to inspire others to help support whatever path it is you're feeling this poetic draw to. Okay, let's look at another vein of creativity coming out of you with this Empress. So you've got practice, clarity, and boron. Okay, so just really quick, I'm going to look up boron because I don't remember that one very well. Okay, while I'm finding it. So practice, to me, I feel like you are somebody who knows deeply how to connect to their instincts, because whether it was foundational in childhood, a parent, or whether it was through schooling or maybe peer influences or early career paths you took at some point, probably earlier than later in your life, you were very exposed to what practice can do for you and how that really can develop an instinct and a skill and bring you sort of an anchoring, a stability. So I do feel that earthiness of the Empress coming through here. It's like you can connect to the things that give you a lot of pleasure are the things that you put a lot of practice toward. They may not always seem like practical things to practice. I feel like you connect to what gives you pleasure and you practice them and dedicate and become very thorough and responsible and potentially even rigid around your sense of practice. But I do think it gives you a sense of clarity at the same time. So the clarity card says, I release my past mistakes and future worries so I can find clarity in the now. My inner vision is clear and is sustained by the healthy boundaries I create. I understand that knowledge is not synonymous with clarity, but clarity is always accompanied by peace. I take time to sit with clouded thoughts and decipher what needs to be filtered. Okay, so I found the boron page and was immediately reminded of what it was. So what I want to say here, and it may not be exactly what you want to hear, but it is sort of a message that seems important to communicate, is I think you're very much so connected to pleasure and your senses and this fertility of life, but your sense of identity may sometimes get a little lost in that sensual connection to life, almost like there's too much embodied information around who you are, and not enough, I don't know, solidifying, aligning in all of the different layers of yourself. Like there's so much emphasis on the senses that there's other areas that have not been as only in relationship to how you see yourself, your identity. I think there's other layers of your body that are less clear about who your sense of self is, and you get that the most when you're anchoring into these practices through the senses. And I see with Boron this like drive to really connect with others, explore life, like being sort of a pilgrim who travels from town to town or from person to person or group to group, sort of trying on different masks, seeing how it feels to practice being different types of people or archetypes. And it's a little bit destabilizing, to be honest. I don't want to try and give a negative reading here, but I do think, what am I trying to say with this? I do think that the way for your other layers of your body, your mental body, your emotional body, to help align with your sensual body and connect with your identity, that each time you make a pilgrimage to a new sense of being, or trying on a new group or aspect of a person, like you do a lot of mirroring to try and figure this out for yourself. And it's not, you don't learn who you are by trying on different personas and like connecting with them. You learn who you are in this journey, which is one I do think you have to take. So I'm really trying not to portray this negatively. I think there are a lot of us that sometimes struggle to feel connected to who we are. I think it's something everyone struggles with at points. But what I'm wanting to portray here is it is a journey that you are on that is important to your creative expression. You have a mirroring within you, a real empathy, I guess you could say, that maybe you get lost in others, and that's why certain practices can help anchor you, because you know that is one solid thing that is always you. Even if it becomes rigid, you know that it's something that anchors you in you, and it's just physical. But this mirroring you do, you're not going to learn, even though you still have to go through that process and it's something you're learning about, you're not going to learn more about who you are by trying those on. But through these journeys of pilgrimage and molding to different and mirroring into different kinds of groups and people and places, each time you look back when you move on, don't recognize what aspect you learned or took on from another place or thing or person that really felt connected to you, but look back at what you had to do to thrive there. And that is what's going to have the information about who you are. So there is a deep creative urge in this lifetime to really identify your sense of self that is a little bit fluid and a little bit sometimes muddied. And I don't I want to say some other things about this because I really don't want you to go away from this having a negative connotation about what I just said. This to me is a teenage soul. That is the most like an empress, the time in life when people are the most beautiful and the flowered. It is to me that late springtime when peonies and roses and like the biggest, most beautiful flowers and nectars are out. There's something so enticing and alluring and gorgeous about it. But what comes with that quality of being is having to figure out who you are, your sense of belonging, and it is a journey. And so your soul might be sort of like a teenage soul, and there is nothing wrong with that. And as long as you're aware that you are sort of trying on personas, trying on groups, trying on locations, I think the more that you have an awareness of that, the more you cause less sort of casualties and burnt bridges in your sort of ease of maybe moving on that comes with that teenage flirtation with life, and just connecting to the beauty with it and just acknowledging and being like, yeah, I am a flirtatious light butterfly who visits the flowers, and that's what I do. And so be empathetic about if people get attached to you that you're not as attached to, or if you move on quite quickly and people don't understand, having some empathy for that, because you do have a strong empathetic quality in you. But don't become the mean girl. Like, there's a lot of high school drama movies where, there's the mean crew, or they're all, there's all sorts of different teenage types of people, and just don't get caught up in being in the mean girl crowd. And I think that this beauty that you possess will open up so many varied and exciting and adventurous, and it's about variety, and evolution loves variety. You are a force for evolution. You help to move life, to pollinate things, and there is beauty in that. So that's what I just want to leave you with that, because I think initially what I was saying, it's a double-edged sword here. It may have felt negative, and I don't want it to be left with a negative feeling. It's just, there's, with every kind of creativity, there is a double-edged sword, So anyway, enough there. I hope I didn't dig myself in a hole, because I see it as beautiful, and I want you to see this as beautiful. And I do think having some regular practices is something that can anchor you as you're kind of morphing into trying on all sorts of different things. But to notice anytime something becomes rigid in your practices, you don't have to completely alter it the way you might if you're on a new pilgrimage, like alter things in a very dramatic way. Say you have a morning yoga practice you're doing, and you do the same exact routine every single day, and it really anchors you. But suddenly something's feeling stale about it, but you can't give it up because it's the thing that like keeps you, the one thing that is always you. Try changing 2 poses, at a time. Don't change the whole, or 1 pose at a time, or infuse a different pose or a different playlist, like minor tweaks, that just help keep it the same so that you have that anchoring, but that give it some freshness as it goes. Okay, so when all of these creative juices are really healthy and flowing, we have an animal archetype, sort of a sub-archetype that will be showing up in you, in your life, which is the crocodile. And I actually love this because I think both the poet and this kind of teenage influence here can sort of get lost in the sort of nebulous morphine of life. its ever-changing capability. And the crocodile is an animal that is just, it's ancient. It's like a grandmother. It observes, it's patient. It knows what its prey is. Not saying that you have to have prey, but it's very observant. It's very protective of its offspring. It's very still and very wise. And I think, to me, an indication that you're really connected to all of this in a beautiful way is when you feel still in life and you feel like you're observing in a meaningful way and feel at peace and calm and clear about observation. I hope that makes sense. Okay, we are going to pick some tarot cards just to kind of show any messages that need to come through about this current moment in your life whenever you come to this reading. It's timeless. What you might need to know, what Spirit wants to tell you about these creative gifts and genius that you have, and each pile, I think that these tarot messages are going to be all sorts of varied and different. So we're just going to kind of see what message comes through. Okay, beautiful. Look at all these wands. Ooh, all the wands, all the wands. Yes, you are very connected to your gifts right now, your creative ability. You're seeing some sort of recognition, some sort of respect, some victory with it. You're really feeling strong about your creative capacity right now. And this is opening up a new persona, just like I talked about with this vein of, I think a new pilgrimage is unfolding underneath you, and you're taking on another new persona that I think is a very important one of really deeply connecting you to your creative source, of your ability to be varied, of your ability to dive into, with the poet and the crocodile, to dive into the depths of creativity instead of the shallowness of it, which is such a funny, actually paradoxical thing, is this side with your creativity felt a little bit more, surface and light, and this side felt very deep and anchored into something that is opposite of shallow. So you have a lot of paradoxes within you, but I think that this strength you're feeling in your creativity is really connecting you with something that's going deep into the source of your creative spark, and really feeling like the mirroring and the persona arising within you right now is fitting very well, I guess I will say. And a new impulse, a new threshold is about to be crossed, and it's a very, very exciting time. Let's find out just a little bit about what this threshold might contain, anything that Spirit wants to reveal to you. Sometimes with thresholds, it doesn't want to reveal too much before you're ready to know it, but whatever. Yeah, it doesn't want to reveal much. It's just confirming, yes, it's a new threshold you're coming into. That's what you need to know. That's all it wants you to know right now. But all the more exciting, a new journey, a new pilgrimage, a new threshold that's really aligning you with an adventure that I think is very suited, where you're going to learn a lot, like I said, about how you find the most about your sense of self by looking back and recognizing the things you had to do. I think the things you're going to have to do on this path are going to teach you a whole lot about your sense of self. Okay, This is, oh, I do have one more message. I wanted to leave you guys with a feather bird message. Just something simple and easy to hold on to. Canary, step forward now and sing your song. There is power in finding your voice. So I do think, that channel, that poet quality you have, ability to articulate and give shape and form to language in beautifully inspiring ways. You're ready to sing your poet voice into the world. So beautiful. This is where I'm going to leave you guys, and I hope that brought you a lot of great, beautiful, helpful insight into your creative essence, which I think is magnificent and just connected to so much beauty. So hopefully I will see you guys in another reading or even another pile if you chose multiple. And I always appreciate a thumbs up. It definitely helps my little new channel algorithm. Or a subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. All right, see you guys. Hello, pile 2. Welcome to your reading about your soul's deepest creative essence. So if this was your pile, you picked the beautiful raw citrine. Place over here. Okay, so before we jump into sort of the creative cards that were picked for this pile, I want to talk about the main card that you chose, even though it wasn't unveiled yet. You were choosing the back of it. But your major arcana card, and for this reading, sort of the archetype I see your creativity best flowing out of when you're connected to, is the Judgment card. And this particular Judgment card, the way I'm seeing it is, I think that sometimes you are the judge in this card, and sometimes you're the one being judged. And I think that vacillates depending on circumstances in your life, but it's something very much so connected to your creativity. And what I'm seeing here is, as the judge, I think you care very, very, very deeply about the things you are sort of, it's like you're set up into a role. It's like you naturally get placed in roles where you have maybe good judgment, or you have this essence of being able to see things with less bias than most, with a certain fairness and with a certain wide perception. And I think you care very deeply for all of life. And so it breaks your heart to have to make judgments, but I think life sometimes puts you in circumstances where that is necessary for the good of, the evolution of our world and humanity and whatnot. Sometimes I think because you're so aware of judgment, of its finality, of its immense impact, I think you constantly feel very vulnerable because you know what judgment does for people. And everyone's a judge. Everyone's judging things all day long about everything. And I think you just have like a heightened awareness of it, and hence a certain vulnerability about being judged, about showing yourself. But I think that you understand the value, and you're willing to be very vulnerable in showing your true nature to others, to life, to the world. And sometimes that allows people to project things onto you that are not fair, but sometimes that vulnerability is a deeply connective, healing thing for others to witness and take part in. And I think that people have felt your judgments as very fair and just and compassionate. And I think that ultimately, even if there's sometimes odd things projected onto you, you have a patience, you have a persistence, you're willing to walk the long path, to build, to be patient, to be persistent. And I think ultimately, almost always, your true essence is seen and usually comes out with a real assessment and fairness and judgment. So you've probably been through this many times. You probably have questions maybe about why you almost have this thing in you that's unwilling to be anything but vulnerable and honest and bare to the world. And it's just this connection you have to authentic judgment, to fair, to unbiased, to neutral, to the power of judgment when it's done for the compassion of healing in the world. I think it's a really mature, this is one of the last major arcanas, so I want to say that you guys are probably incredibly old souls and willing to be sort of sacrificial lambs in the territory of judgment and justice, to be an example of its meaning and its highest good and use in the world. But yes, I do think it might sometimes come with some difficult circumstances. Okay, but it's really, really a beautiful thing though, and I think that you see with such wise, such kind, such compassionate just grace. And so I think for the most part, people connect positively with that. Okay, so we are going to look at kind of two veins of creativity that tend to flow out of this archetype of yours, just to get, we all have many gifts, but what are your two main creative gifts that your soul wants you working on and participating in and cultivating? And then we will look at a spirit, sort of a sub-archetype under your main archetype of creative, the archetype that is used for your creative expression, a sub one that appears when you are really aligned and in harmony with these creative gifts that you have in this archetype. What's a sub-archetype that does appear when you're really fluid and in alignment with all of this? Okay, so the first vein of creativity coming out here, we've got Oracle. Yeah, I definitely feel that. Longing. Lithium. Wow, really, 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 really not kidding when picking up on that you guys are old souls. I really think that you are some of the very first humanoid souls on Earth. I feel like you were part of its creation. And with this lithium card, and by the way, I think I'm probably gonna have to explain this in each pile. Why is a chemical component being used to describe your creativity? This is from an amazing deck called Materia Prima by the USI company that does really artful decks, and they turned the whole periodic table almost into sort of archetypes that are very, very poetic and very creative and really inspiring. So I thought they would be appropriate to use in this reading. So with oracle, which is definitely an indication of a very ancient soul, it's like you've had so many experiences over so many lifetimes with so much of humanity that you can see the patterns so easily of signs and symbols that might appear when certain stories are playing out, and where a story might be in its journey based on some of the developments. But you're like very, very good at picking up the patterns and being able to use this ancient recall, even if you're not knowing that that's what you're doing. Is like, it almost might feel like you're getting downloads, but I think, and I do think you may have some connection to angel realm in that way, but I think a lot of it is coming from your own ancient experiences as being like original creator in this world on earth, of just memory. You're picking up on memory, and so much of the things that you might think are coming from a different realm, it's just coming from your DNA that is very, very, very rooted to the earliest stories of our world, and so many since then. And this lithium, there is immense, just like the judge has so much power at its disposal, under its fingertip, under its rulings. And sometimes those judgments can lead toward beautiful creation, or it can lead towards some sort of like finality and destruction. You feel that so pronounced in your being. And to be gifted the creativity of oracle is to know that ability to sort of predict the coming waves, the coming events, the coming energies. You've seen how that can be used in greedy fashion or for the good of all. And so I think that's something you're very aware of on some deep cellular level, is that there is a huge responsibility upon you to use the ancient wisdom you have to be able to foresee kind of future events, to bring more unity into the world rather than to use it for either personal gain or the gain of some bias. It is supposed to be used to bring harmony and unity into the world. And I feel like you understand the weight of that, and you understand the creation and destruction at your fingertips. And it's always something you're having to hold very delicately, because it is a very, very strong power to wield. And no doubt a lot of people have tried to use it improperly, and you may have even at times been wrapped up in using it improperly and have already gone through. I think you get immediate judgments, though. I think you don't have to wait on your judgments. Because of the weight and responsibility you bear, I think the universal laws they notice your mistakes before they notice others, because you're like an aligning, a calibrating force that is really important in helping to bring a calibration of love and harmony into the world. And so they're always wanting you, the hires, the force of creation, the source of creation is always wanting you to be aligned, so you're watched carefully, I believe. Okay, so longing comes in here too. Let's see what it says. My longings come to teach me that I am worthy and able. I trust my longings to guide me into the fullness of my expression and purpose. My longings are granted as a gift from the divine. I bless the depth of my longings and allow myself to be revived by their unbridled energies. And I think that this is a calibration tool for you, this sense of longing. This might be sort of an energy of, sometimes it may manifest as going into rabbit holes. Sometimes it may manifest as an example, feeling all of a sudden an obsession with, I just need to go to New Zealand. There's something there for me, like these longings that just bring a deep focus, a deep obsession, a deep magnetic draw toward. And I think that is a calibrating tool in you, trying to direct your creation destruction ability and your oracle qualities to certain things in life where unity and harmony are really begging to be brought in a way that's off balance. So you're coming into, I know you're not the justice card, which is the scales, but I do think that your longings are drawing you to scenarios that need your oracle quality in order to bring in some kind of broad perspective that can offer ways forward of how to unite rather than divide in certain things, but also bring with it this willingness to and I think this is where the tears come with the judgment. That sometimes some things just have to be called, and the things on earth are a bit more finite, and sometimes you have to utilize that finite element to make judgments, to create hard stops in certain things. So there's even just a little bit of heartbreak sometimes when you have to use these beautiful ancient gifts you have, because you do bring kind of finite qualities to things, and sometimes that is unity and sometimes that is just a hard stop because things are too fragmented. Okay, moving on to the second main vein of creativity from the deepest creative wellspring from your soul. Okay. Creation 2. I'm going to read that one. Let's see. It says, the 2 of creation brings reassurance that diligence does not go unnoticed. This card calls attention to what has been aligning for you recently and asks you to stay true to this path. Just as the seed reaches for light, so does your growth continue its expression. You resonate with nature's continuous flow. Your energy is being witnessed. Your perseverance will soon be honored. So this to me is almost like the oak tree, something that's very slow growing but diligent, but when it comes into maturity it has a greatness behind it. And these are not so separate to me. It's this ancient thing coming through. You have learned the worth of taking your time to build that. I think you're going to be a late blossomer in life. My guess is that is resonating with most of you in this reading. But there's a certain, at your core knowing, because you've been through life so many times, there's this core knowing that small step by small step, little by little, deep focus, continuing with a flow of growth that is steady but strong, reaps a certain greatness. and you know the worth of that greatness, and you're willing to wait, you're willing to persevere, you're willing to put in the focus and attention and deep work. And it doesn't surprise me that the embodiment card coming with this creative gift is rest. I think you probably shoulder a lot and focus a lot and have not likely had a lot of praise because you're working instead of on many blossoming flowers or a shoot of bamboo. Like, your life's work is something that is done once and done great. So you will be recognized and honored, I think, at the peak of your move from late adulthood into elderhood. Your late 60s or something, I think, is like when your creative triumph will come into being, will manifest. And I think this is saying, like, it's like you're carrying one boulder at a time up a great hill to build a great, beautiful piece of architecture. And it's like that patience, that hard work, that focus, that dedication. It's just a reminder here, your body needs you to take the rest when it asks you to. Anytime any sort of symptoms of illness, physical symptoms arise, I think it's very simple, typically, that rest is being ignored. So the card says rest is essential for healthy and harmonious mind, body, soul connection. Yeah, also when you're feeling some sort of fragmentation within, disalignment with mind and soul per se, we saw on this side already that karma comes in quick with you guys if anything's sort of out of alignment. And this side is saying that rest is a massive tool for you to restore certain things, to help keep them. I think you know quite well how to keep things aligned. It's just giving yourself permission to rest more. And when you do that, I think that you quite easily recover, restore, and realign. It's just, I think you need more rest than the typical soul. Okay, so in a world where hustle is all too often praised, rest is one of the most underrated tools for increased efficiency, creativity, and health. Has my current schedule been helping me or deterring me from experiencing more in my life? Today I will take a step toward prioritizing rest and eliminate any unnecessary tasks and activities. Yeah, so I think this is just a call to recognize, like, maybe deep within you, you sort of have this sense that you're building towards something great, and sometimes that might not feel clear what it is, and it's very easy to get sort of seduced into modern world's hustle bustle, social media, 24-hour news cycle, this, that, where at the end of the day, what's actually created and sustained and great? Not a lot. And so saying, like, I think part of the rest you need is like rest from paying attention to that disruptive busyness of our world, to kind of shut off technology, shut off socializing and gossip and emails and texts, and like just shut all the noise out, because you need to stay connected to this very singular great thing you're building. And it's really, I think, in the state, like the climate of our world, I think it can be really easy for you to have a hard time being clear about what that is, even though you kind of feel like you're always doing that. And I think, yeah, rests and timeouts will help you to have more clarity about, like, I know I'm doing it, but this is what it is. This is what I'm, like, being more clear, and so that you can be more persevering. and willing to be persevering and focused and dedicated to some sort of work, some sort of greatness. And this is also so indicated by this actinide series. It's a 13 elements, actually. It's a little series of elements that are, I'm definitely not an expert on the periodic table or chemicals by any means. So I apologize if there's any chemists here and I completely, baffled us. But I think these are sort of not elements natural to our world that are sort of pulled from, I don't know if it's space, but somehow either created by man or pulled from somewhere in space, but not necessarily extracted from our earth that's what we're going to go with. That's what I'm reading here. To me, it's sort of like the hero's journey, this card. Actually, more so than the hero's journey. This is a comic book superhero type story. This is Superman arriving from another place and having certain powers and a certain eternalness of soul that's much greater than a mortal on earth. But with that power and with that connection to things much greater than our geolocation in the galaxy comes a deep responsibility. There's a need to protect the people around you from your own power and having to be very careful with them because of this potential not only to be of great service and help, but potential to be a destructive force at the same time if you aren't careful with the power you wield, which we also kind of have with lithium, this deep, you guys are powerful is what I want to say. And the universe, your creativity is about things so much bigger than your own life. Hence, I don't know that you always get it reflected back to you how great and powerful you are. And so this reading, I think, is coming through to let you know that, I think the people around you just have this assumption. It's known, so they don't have to remind you. It's like, why would you have to remind Superman that he's Superman? He knows he's Superman. But I think you in mortal clothing and maybe not even realizing the mask you have to wear as a mortal aren't totally aware of you are Superman. And so that's not completely solid in your own psyche, and people aren't giving you that feedback of how amazing you are. So I think it's sometimes lost on you, the power you wield. So just letting you know you're Superman or Superwoman, basically. People assume you know it, and so they don't often portray to you how amazing and great you are. But you know it on some level, you do. And so this is just that thing of embrace it. Why should Superman have to be complimented? You should just know he's Superman or Superwoman, whatever. Super they even. So anyway, a little off track there, little side detour. What I'm saying is you wield forces of creation and destruction. You wield some sort of greatness. I think it's going to be different for everybody. You are building something great that's going to take a lifetime to create. You have this connection to judgment that is so deeply honored and valued because it's coming from such a wise, ancient place and from a very compassionate and loving place. And you have this ability to yeah, be drawn into the scenarios in our world that deeply need this oracle ability to, yeah, bring some unity and love into certain circumstances. But at the end of the day, you are judgment, and your creativity flows through judgment. And that can also be incredibly intimidating for a lot of people, because there is that sense, even if they haven't witnessed it, that you know how to put a full stop on things if needs be. And yeah, a lot of people don't know they're behaving badly and would like to continue behaving badly, and so are not going to let you into their sphere of influence. So yeah, there may be some exclusion that you feel sometimes, and it's because people don't want you seeing what they're doing, because you see through all of the bullshit. Okay, so when all of this beautiful, just force of creative energy that you have is flowing and working beautifully, a sub-archetype that will appear. You've got the mouse, which is so interesting, and I love the paradox of it, is that this like grandiose energy you have, and yet when it's manifesting and flowing and aligned in you, you show up as the most humble creature there could ever be. But that's exactly what it is, this eye that can see everything. The mouse can get into like any space. If there's even like a millimeter of space, somehow it can smush and get in. It can be so undetected, move without being seen. You see the unseen. You're able to see every angle. You're able to be a fly on the wall that people don't even know that you're there. You see everything, you have access to everything, and you are detailed. When you make your judgments, you are that longing quality you have where you may go down rabbit holes. You collect details like, wow. Yeah, I think as broad and far-seeing as you are, you have this ability to, with that impartiality of like collecting the smallest, seemingly insignificant details that actually are very profound and meaningful for putting patterns together, understanding and seeing the different patterns that help you to know sort of the future, hence certain judgments needed. So really, really cool. Like, the most humble thing is the most strong thing, you know? Okay, we are going to pull some tarot cards real quick to get any information from Spirit about current advice with your creative abilities. Just leaving it as an open-ended question, anything it wants you to know about this, any guidance it might have, generally where events, circumstances surrounding your creativity right now. We'll just see what comes through. This one's 2. So 8 of Pentacles, Strength, and ooh, get one more. Ace of Pentacles. I love it. This is really beautiful, you guys. So I think there's been a skill that you've been really honing, or that has really turned into something quite useful, quite beneficial for you, especially in some sort of like workforce capacity. I think it's something that you could be paid well for. I think it's you've really created mastery in some kind of skill, and you're starting to recognize, just like this side talking about something great you're building, I think you're getting very, very clear about what that is, and you're starting to feel a certain confidence and trust in your intuition and ability to bring things that are more nuanced and subtle and imaginative out with a strong heart and a commanding aura to sort of present to the world and hold as beautiful and to be witnessed. And it's bringing you some financial opportunity that is filled with source energy of material potential. So maybe this, for some of you, could be a new job opportunity, a new business you're starting, anything new that could bring you income or financial benefit is, your creative energy is very plugged into this and aligned and it just holds a lot of potential, and you have a lot of strength and mastery to back it. So you need to trust this, whatever it is that's coming through. Maybe let's get a little bit more information about what this potential financial opportunity is. Okay. Oh, Chariot. Yeah, okay. You're going to be... You may currently at this, we'll do this too, at this moment be focusing in a direction that's not aligned with this, but very, very soon circumstances are going to sort of knock you off the wrong path that's not aligned with your impulse and passion. And immediately this opportunity is swooping in. It's like it's waiting for you to get off this certain view and focus and determination. It's like they know that that this isn't your right path. They know you're about to fall or something, and they're just waiting to come. It's going to swoop right under you and pick you up, and off you go. There's nothing you're going to have to do. It's not like you're going to have to necessarily, I don't want to say you're not going to have to interview, but like if you do have to go through interviews, I feel like it's a facade. This thing already knows they want you. So like, confidence, trust this thing that picks you up, because something is like right around the corner about to deter you from a certain path you're on, and the right path is literally minutes behind. And when you get picked up and recognize that you're moving forward and you're swiftly rising to the top of something and on your way and being carried with the force of some wave of something, you become this Knight of Swords character who's very brave and very articulate and full of ideas that are expansive and conquering and ready to charge into uncharted territory with preciseness and knowing and focus and dedication and commitment. So it's really beautiful. All right, that is where I'm going to leave you guys with your soul's creative essence. It is, wow. You guys are powerhouses, and I'm really excited for what's happening right now. Okay, I guess I will leave you here, and maybe I will see you, if you chose a second pile, in one more of these. If not, hopefully in another reading. I always appreciate a thumbs up, helps my little algorithm. And if you are not subscribed yet, please do so if you want more of these. All right, see you guys. Hello, pile 3. Welcome to your reading all about the creative essence of your soul. So if this was your reading, you picked the Pyrite, and the card connected to it is Strength. And this card in your reading is indicating the archetype through which your creative essence prefers to flow or express itself. So a very pivotal, important part of this reading. So something I love about this strength card is typically it's a lion used, and in this we've got a tiger as well as this watery existence environment that they're in. And so instead of this solar animal, the lion being kind of connected to the sun, we've got a very lunar connected animal, one that stalks in the night, that stays sort of hidden. It's very much more connected to the feminine principle rather than the masculine, as is water. So the strength card does indicate a lot about finding a relationship between sort of like your civilized self and your wild intuitive self, agreeing to come together to kind of present the front needed for each circumstance, being willing to let each take the reins when needed. And in this circumstance, I'm feeling like the agreement being made around the civilized self and the wild self is like the wild self is 75% in control and the civilized self is like 25% in control. It's just like so much more of that dark yin night quality that's a bit uncharted, a bit untamed, a bit connected to primality and creation and depth and mystery. So there's something about the strength you put out into the world, the front you have in terms of how you present yourself and hold a certain command. You're willing to be a little bit more on the intuitive side than the logical side, and using your force through linking and connecting to people's heartstrings and to their depths and their intuitive side. Okay, so I've got two different piles for the two main sort of creative veins that your soul has and that specifically want to be acknowledged in this reading. And then at the end of this aspect of the reading, we're going to look at an animal sub-archetype that will show up in your life within you when you're really in alignment and flowing with these creative gifts we look at and your strength archetype. Okay, so this first vein of creativity, we've got the process, iron, and alignment. So this to me is indicating that you really have like I want to preface this with saying that in the right circumstances is a very useful, very positive, creative expression. When in the wrong category, it's not so much. But I do think that you have this quality of being able to be the strong man, the leader, I don't throw this out flippantly, but I do think it hits home in driving home what is being portrayed here. It's like there's like a dictator vein in you, but when used for a personal creativity rather than having power over others, and we see dictators in roles of leaders of state, it doesn't always turn out so well. But when we see someone taking the reins and having that ultimate unilateral control, say in like a family business, or you look at like someone like Oprah, there's a way that this archetype can, and this creative quality that you possess can be used as really beautiful and really beneficial. It's just not meant to in my opinion, be more governmental. My thoughts are nobody coming to tarot readings are probably in politics. But good for you if you are and you enjoy tarot. That would make me feel better, actually. Anyway. But I do think that you have a potential to create a business, to create a name for yourself, to do something very powerful and very pronounced in the world. And it's up to you to make that something that's beautiful, to make that something that helps people, to make that something that adds to the world rather than controls the world with a certain agenda, that listens to what the world wants and then uses their power, their strength to bring production, to bring action, to bring movement and traction to what's being asked for. Sometimes that dictator quality doesn't have to go through red tape and they can get things done immediately. It's just that, especially when, you're in a democracy, that not everyone is going to agree with that direct ability to take action. But in, a positive business, in something that's doing positive in the world, it's amazing. It gets things done, and you have that ability to create processes, to be the strong man, to be the decider, to shoulder the responsibility, to shoulder the criticism, to shoulder contenders and competition and naysayers and whatever. Like, it's nothing to you. You have a strength that is, just in seeing this, I don't know if it's an elk or a buck on here. I usually think of like a father archetype with that, an ability to shoulder responsibility and professionalism. Not that a mother archetype can't be that either, but just sort of plugging into traditional archetypes for a moment. So this card alignment says, I am an adaptable creature, able to shift and make adjustments as I continue to trust myself. With the strength, that's all about trusting the self. I learn what allows me to thrive. I am in alignment with my true self, and I do not compromise what is healthy for me. I take the time to fill into what gives me energy and what supports me on my path. And I love this ability to be adaptable brought through here, and I think that is, something that a strong man business type leader is capable of. When you have a unilateral decision in certain things, it's easier to pivot. It's easier to listen to the feedback and realign and keep continuing to get into alignment with what's being asked, and allowing you to listen to feedback. And I think you have that ability and desire to understand the feedback, to understand the desires of whatever this is directed towards or being done for, whoever and whatever it benefits. I do think you have a deep care for that being in alignment with what's being asked. And it's when you have that quality within you and the capability to take fast action, it's very effective. So really beautiful. I really do think whether you are a business leader right now or not, that is so much so in your creative capacity. And I think that you're willing to be seen as a little bit wild and a little bit daring and a little bit risky and a little bit more willing to follow your intuition and instincts, which I think is what, creates more of this strong man thing, is a little bit of a feminine inner mystery that's willing to be a little bit more wild in life. Paradoxical as that sounds, and I don't mean to play off of so many gender stereotypes. It's the easiest way to communicate what's sort of coming through. It's plugging into some traditional things. Sorry. Okay, so this second vein of creativity that's wanting to be brought to attention, we've got concept, focus, and oxygen. So I love this. There's this other side of you that really plays into this, wild tiger yin watery thing here, of like this deep love of playing with concepts artistically, of dreaming, but also being seduced by certain ideas and abstractions and possibilities and potential in life. This is something that, just like in a romance, when someone says like they are my breath, to you there are certain concepts and abstractions you need to be allowed to explore and indulge in that feed you that way, that are your oxygen, that give you that ability to be adjustable here, to work with alignment. There's something about this, I think, that feeds this. There's something about having the freedom to dream, to explore the potential of things that are only in seed form, that seem impossible, that, this is energy of a theoretical physicist or something, like just this need, this desire to dream up the wildest things and be given a long leash to be able to actually explore that as something real. I mean, innovators, you are total innovators here. I hate to say it because controversial person, and I'm not saying I equate you to this person, but the kind of energy coming off here is sort of Elon Musk-ish to me. That might be someone, whether or not you agree with things he's done, there may be things about him that resonate in you a bit. Okay, so the embodiment card on this side, it says, where have I been directing my focus? Is what I give my focus to worthy of my attention? Which I would also say for Elon, you have to, with this energy, I think and this sort of unilateral ability to do things, it's definitely worth stopping, listening. As I said, I do think you like to listen to the people you're doing things for, or the areas of life you're doing things for. I do think feedback is a worthwhile thing to make sure your focuses are worthy of your attention. When distractions arise, how can I create an anchor to keep myself rooted in my vision? As I set my focus on what I am desiring to create, I can be confident that distractions will lose their appeal. So this is like a two-part thing to me. It's of benefit, I think, for you guys to often ask yourself if this thing that's feeding you the oxygen in life at the moment is worthy of your attention. And B, if the answer is yes, how can you eliminate any unneeded distractions in order for you to kind of go into the wildness. I think that's why there's a 75% versus 50% wildness in your strength. I think this aspect of you needs to dive into the wildness, to believe the unbelievable, to really explore the terrain of the impossible. Okay, so really cool, really powerful, definitely a little bit wild here, but like, yeah, just amazing builders, amazing strength of fortitude and willingness to shoulder things in life and be a commander. So when all of this is in alignment and really flowing positively through you, another subtype that will show up, archetype animal, is the bee archetype. So really feeling happy in your work, happy in collaboration. So even though you like to maybe be in this position or build in a way that you are the commander, the leader of a certain realm, there is indication with that alignment thing that you do like to listen to others. You do like to work with them. At the end of the day, maybe you have the say in the decision and the ability to move quickly, but that doesn't mean that you don't enjoy getting feedback, enjoy working with others, enjoy collaboration, enjoy even the wildness that can be dreamt when multiple brains, brain trusts are put together of powerful brains. I think you enjoy that very much so. It's just that you also want, at the end of the day, to be able to make a unilateral decision and take action. So a little complex, but I do think beautiful as long as it's directed in the right types of things, as long as you are continuing to listen and stay in alignment, surrounding yourself with collaborators that are wise and compassionate and for the unity and love in the world, all that great stuff. Okay, so we are going to look at some tarot cards real quick to see anything Spirit wants to bring through about this current moment in time whenever you come to this reading, which is timeless. What does Spirit want you to know about this creativity in your life right now? Knight of Cups. I think you're in dream mode over here with something. Let's see, this one I'm not doing reversals. Sometimes I like reversals, but sometimes I'm looking for a more clear, simple message. Okay. Yeah, you're in dream mode, but I think at the same time, I think your heart is over here. You're really feeling a creative draw that you're wanting to explore, really feeding you your oxygen at the moment. But at the same time, I think that over on this side of your creativity, where you're kind of more of the business creative, I think you have a lot of responsibilities on your plate that are preventing you from dedicating yourself to these concepts and abstractions that really have your heart at the moment, which is ultimately bringing you to a place of frustration where you feel a little bit paralyzed. There's a big dream within you, but you have so much on your plate at the moment that this side of your creativity is in paralysis mode. And I just want to say, like, life is always changing. There's ebbs and flows. And for whatever reason, life is wanting you to really lean into this side of responsible, creative business alignments. And this is what needs your attention. And if you can just allow this aspect of you to take a little bit of a back seat, not saying you have to drop it in any downtime you might have. I think great, explore it in like a very private, personal way, but I think out in the greater world, it's not the right timing. And if you can just sort of shift that a little, like I don't have to let go of this, but I just need to keep it a little bit more as a side distraction that's my own, that's not wrapping a whole bunch of people into something right now. I think this paralysis will kind of fall away. Let's see if we can get another card, if you can kind of shift that. When will this have its opportunity, or is this just something that needs to dissolve for now? Let's see. One more card. I think... Ooh. Yeah, there's your heart, there's something in your heart that really wants to fight for something, this creative outlet, this creative whim in you that's giving you some oxygen, but I think there's some ego involved in whatever it is. And I think you need to figure out a way to shift it into the background and really focus on what's asking to be focused on, is something really big on this side of you, on your business side. I think whatever that thing of asking if something is worthy of your attention, I think that's a very important question about what's drawing you here. Because I think ultimately, even if it feels very important right now, something about it just doesn't outweigh this, and your ego is struggling with something about that, but it really needs to, I think, be eased up on, be shifted out of, and really focusing your attention where the universe is trying to focus your attention. So yeah, if you want to be a little whimsical and conceptual in your private downtime, I think that's fine. But whatever this bigger thing is, it's an ego thing, and I think you need to ask a lot of questions about its worth and its importance ultimately, versus the importance of what's going on in your business. Okay, one last card. We are going to draw a bird feather card for just a last cute little message to leave you guys with. Chickadee, the time is right to release old patterns and energies. You are ready to embrace change. And I think it's about this. I think there's some pattern, ego pattern you need to release here. And there's some big change in your business foundations that needs your attention, because it's really profound and huge, and needs your full attention, your full balance, your full force and ability right now. All right, so this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this was interesting and helpful and illuminating, and brings to attention all of some beautiful, well, at least some main beautiful creative veins that you have, and the way they like to be channeled and expressed in. So if this is the only or last pile you had for this reading, I will hopefully see you in another one. If you have a second pile that's the last pile, I will see you over there. Definitely, I appreciate the thumbs up. It helps my little new channel's algorithm. And for sure, subscribe if you are not yet and you enjoyed this reading and want more. All right, see you guys. Hello, pile 4, last pile. If this is you guys, you picked this really beautiful orange, I don't know the stone's name, but it's a beautiful orange stone that sort of feels quartz-like to me. Okay, so the card that was next to your stone from the major arcana of the tarot is the beautiful, glorious, creative sun. So that is such an amazing card to get for a reading all about the deepest creative essence of your soul. So this card in this reading is showing the archetype through which your creativity likes to flow. And just generally, your creativity just desires to flow. You just need to create. You are just connected to life and vitality and expression and finding your alignments and opening your heart. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to have as the archetype through which your creativity flows, because it's such a natural one. Okay, so in this reading, there are 2 veins, main veins of creativity that we are going to highlight that flow out of this archetype that your soul is expressing its creativity through. And then once we get through with these, there's a sub-archetype through an animal spirit that we will look at, that you will know you're plugged in to alignment with this and fluidity with it, and really utilizing and expressing it in your creative veins and essence in positive ways when this animal archetype shows up. So it should resonate with you that, like, yes, I've seen this at times, or I'm always connected to that, or I've had glimpses of it. So that will help you find your own calibration of like how well you're working with these. And then after, we're going to do some tarot to check in on currently what you need to know about all of this. All right, let's look at the first creative vein that sort of is flowing through this solar archetype, beautiful energy. We've got pilgrimage, rhythm, and Francium, which these cards I feel like I've had to explain in each pile just to help it makes sense why chemical elements are here. This is a deck called Materia Prima from the Usi brand of decks that they turned the periodic table into sort of archetypes and poetic energies, and it just felt like a really beautiful energy to bring into this reading. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that your solar center, your heart, your expansiveness really loves to explore, really loves to go on journeys, to be involved in the theater and play of the hero's journey. It's definitely like the star, stars and starlets, however you want to phrase that, people who love the spotlight, who like to be in theater and involved in the dramas of life, do tend to be very drawn into this hero journey. We're all involved in different heroes' journeys or heroines' journeys or different types of journeys, but this solar quality, so those of you who picked this pile, I think you really delight in the drama of it, loving to be on adventures and pilgrimages, pushing your boundaries, connecting with new places, exploration, allies and enemies, just like the theater of life, I think is very much so something you connect to. And I think at the root of what you love doing here is picking at trying to uncover the unseen, the unconscious, things that are a little bit more ephemeral and hard to contain. So it's sort of this never-ending pilgrimage. You're chasing things that can never be possessed or contained or fully understood, but that's part of the allure for you, I think. And so what's coming through about this creativity that you have that really is just, to me, quite theatrical and enchanting. This Frankium energy just feels enchanting, like after the magic of life, chasing the magic of life. So something that really helps make this type of creativity sane and possible is rhythm. And so that's an important part of this constant pushing yourself into journeys and exposure and drama and chasing the ungraspable, is to root yourself in rhythm. So this card says, how would creating a daily rhythm offer me a sense of freedom? So finding that freedom to have pilgrimages, to chase the unattainable, is to have certain rhythms that anchor you in order to allow you to be free in other ways, a platform from which you can jump off of, solid ground from which you can stand in order to springboard into the dramas. Rhythms, certain rhythms, I think, are what anchor you in a way that then allows you to be more free in other ways. Okay. Can I recall a time where I've seen rhythm help something flourish? Where in my life is there a need for nourishing rhythms? Just as life has seasons, I embrace the rhythms that I'm currently in need of. And the sun is definitely the thing that gives us our seasons. As Earth moves around the sun on our tilt, you can't really see my fingers. So if this were Earth, it's sort of tilted, and as it moves around a central point, that tilt of our axis brings us into a different relationship with how directly or indirectly we're facing the sun, hence a changing of seasons. And I think that you're really connected into that quality of life, that change of seasons, and an enjoyment of that, but plugging into knowing that change is rooted in a rhythm, that freedom of exploration and change has a rhythm to it. And so rhythms are something that can really ground you in your chasing of the dramas and different seasons and experiences of life. Okay, let's look at this second vein of creative energy you possess. So we've got form, gather, and phosphorus. And I mean, there's a slightly different message here, but these feel similar in some big ways as well. So with the form, I think that you're someone who loves to make your external world match your internal world, which makes you a little bit monkeyish, really active, constantly needing to move and mold and be curious and touch life and form life. And yeah, this gather card, let's see what it says. Gathering is what people have done throughout history, not only in times of celebration, but also when loss is experienced. In coming together, we are reminded that we are not alone and that community is healing. How would gathering as a sacred gift bring deeper connection and meaning to my life. Today I will make plans to intentionally gather with friends. Oh, that's interesting. I was thinking that it probably meant like gathering things, which I think I want to, because that's what came to mind initially. So I want to infuse that too. So the gathering of things and giving form to things, I think you're always playing off of your environment and really putting a lot of effort and fun and magic into the things you gather, the environments you put yourself in trying to mold and give them form that matches the way you feel inside. And there's this constant change in that. And a lot of you probably already realize this. You may have learned some lessons around it of like, there might be some frustration in this energy of like feeling that you've put so much effort into making your environment match the way you feel inside, and yet every day or every month or every year all of a sudden it feels off alignment. And that's just the way it is. The seasons, the change, life is always changing. There's an impermanence to the dramas of life, the form of life, the season of life. Hence, the form you're always trying to create and the things you're trying to gather have an impermanence too. And so the more you can recognize that this is a lifelong thing, and that what you mold today may not be what reflects who you are next year, and that this is just part of your existence and part of your creativity is a never-ending need to form life to match who you are and what you are. And it's beautiful. And I think, you'll release some frustration the more that you can accept that this is a lifelong thing you will always be doing, and it should be done with pleasure and excitement and eagerness to see what comes up next, instead of like, I just did this and now it doesn't feel right. Just flowing with that change of season, really connected into that rhythm of never-ending change. But also this gather in terms of the social thing and the friends, definitely picking up on this thing that like you do like a little bit of spotlight on you. You like a little bit of voyeuristic quality into your life, to show a little bit, to act, to be part of the dramas that are, but they can always be joyous. And if it's always coming from a heart space, dramas can always be positive and fun and loving. And so that's also something to remember, that like, yes, maybe I love drama, but there's a way to always make drama a positive thing, a positive story, a positive narrative, a positive journey, a positive pilgrimage. And I'm just going to look up phosphorus really quick, because I thought I knew most of these cards pretty well, but all of a sudden I'm blanking on it. Oh, no. Okay, now that I see the page, it's all coming back to me, and I love it. You can see here it's cyclical, regeneration, continuity, progress, nourishment, just reading those keywords. I mean, it's everything we've already talked about, this never-ending cycle of life and regeneration and cyclical connection to things. And I think that your creativity, I don't know why I'm picking up this vibe that it sometimes frustrates you. Your creativity frustrates you. So this may not be for everyone, but for those of you that feel some frustration in your creative expression, the more you can embrace the fact that it's always impermanent and always changing and always part of a cycle and a new drama and a new story and a new narrative, that you can just kind of let go and move with the changes, knowing that change is the only constant, and accepting that, and accepting that anytime you try to create a static form or stop on a journey in one place, things are going to bump up against that, because you're meant to just be in this never-ending cycle of change, and you're just so affected by season and the cyclical, regenerative, quality of life. That is what your creativity is. So anytime you try to sort of create a permanence with it, you're going to be met with some confronting things, some things that don't allow that to be so. So the more you can just embrace, the cyclical, changing nature of creativity in general, but especially for you, the more I think you'll find ways to always be connected to your creative flow with pleasure and joy and love. Okay, so when all of this is really aligned and flowing and you're tapping into it beautifully and it's working for you, a sub-archetype that will appear is the Scorpion. So very focused, very passionate, a little bit more connected to business aim and determination, rather than just kind of swept up into the activity of life and parties and this and that. I think that's something you easily get swept into, is just like the glamour of life and the things and scattered and here and there and part of everything. But I think when you're working this really well and in a positive way, you become much more focused, a little less social, not that you wouldn't still be social, but a little bit more focused and passionate and determined about a specific aim that you have, and limiting some of the things and distractions in your life in order to move through your pilgrimages with strong purpose and molding life with a lot of thoughtfulness and conscientiousness. And I think also in general, sort of a greater conscientiousness of others enters into your archetypal expression when this is all flowing beautifully. Okay, let's pull some tarot cards to get a message about currently what Spirit wants you to know about this creative essence of yours. Anything kind of leaving it, oh my goodness, open-ended. Anything that wants to come through for pile 4 about currently in their life, how this creative essence is flowing, what needs to be known about it. Okay, so we've got Death, Queen of Cups. Let's get one more. Yeah, okay, that sort of confirms what I was already feeling. So I really want to springboard off of sort of the last thing I said before jumping into tarot in terms of talking about the Scorpion and being more focused. I think that's something that you are learning some lessons in right now. I think karmically, some things have come up that have either dented your reputation a little or had you hitting a certain wall and burnout, where a certain lifestyle has no longer been sustainable, and you're recognizing, I think you guys, for the most part, are recognizing the need to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more contained, a little bit more precise and responsible. And so your lifestyle is under review right now, and you're really making some deep changes. You're going through maybe a little bit of a dark night of the soul, feeling slightly down and judgmental, potentially even about your past years. But what's happening is so beautiful, and you need to start looking forward. I think this has been put to rest, and it's time to kind of walk out into the light with new focus, new determination, because I think you are ready to really initiate and ignite yourself into a new way of being, and really using your magnetism, using your draw to the dramas and the attention of life, to the way people love to gather around you socially. I think you're going to start, the way you're morphing and changing and becoming more focused and responsible, is you're going to utilize that. You're coming into like a new archetype. This Queen of Cup archetype is really desiring to come out of you. It's ready to step forward, to use the draw you have to social life, to people's hearts, to organize people and create productivity. You can become the center of activity around creativity. I don't know if I repeated that. Oh my gosh. Okay, you can become the center of gravity for creative projects to spring forward. So instead of just being wrapped up in the dramas of life, you can let people come to you because you draw them. You're a center of gravity, and you can start directing people for a creative vision, for a creative focus, to be busy, to build, to create community. And I think you're really stepping into a place where you're really going to know how to gather positive, emit positive intentions and focuses, hence attract positive people that want to be part of this center of gravity of hive activity around you, and to really create a familial soul family type tribe that's incredibly productive and focused and healthy, and using the theater of life to create and to have a focus, and not to expend energy in frivolous ways, but to really be a director, to really step into your command and your magnetism as someone that can direct things and make things happen around them for a greater purpose, for a focused purpose, for a passion that unites everybody. And in doing so, you rise above certain petty things that maybe have been around you lately, and seeing the higher roads, seeing the more productive roads, seeing the more positive roads, and really uniting others in beautiful plans to execute and collaborate and generate things that are just gorgeous. So let's get a little bit more information about what this sort of creative soul tribe, collaborative creative project that really wants you to be its central commander and kind of step into a more focused role. Any information about this creative hive activity? What is this about? What is it? Is it a job, a project, literally kind of being the hub of a family? Yeah, it's a creative, this is a creative role, some sort of project, a creative project that, that you're, it's like it's not like a family role. the center of a family. It's creating a soul family through a creative project, through creative collaborators. It really, yeah, you're really ready to step into, yeah, the center of gravity of some beautiful creative project that's just going to help gather beautiful souls around you. Yeah, so gorgeous. Okay, let's pick one last little message to leave you guys with, a feather message that's light and easy breezy. Okay, so we've got grouse. Embrace the power of dance and movement to access your highest guidance. Yeah, I do get that feeling. You know, the grouse also is connected to that cyclical, circular nature that I'm feeling here, this movement, this hive activity. So even beyond maybe in your personal space, when you get ready in the morning, like dance and movement might just really bring you in touch with your highest guidance. But I also think in general, there's just like a lot of movement coming, circling around you, ready for you to be, yeah, that center of gravity of something really creative and big and exciting and fun. So yeah, good luck with that. Be courageous and bold and confident into stepping into your power. You are ready. And I know some of you are probably feeling at a dark point, but you're really ready to step into the light. So trust that, and I wish you the best on whatever this exciting, creative effort is. So, all right, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. If you enjoyed this reading, I always love a thumbs up. It helps my algorithm, especially being a very new channel. And if you are not subscribed yet and you like this reading, please subscribe to get more, and I will hopefully see you in another reading. All right, see you.